As I said earlier, with me in the studio is writer and broadcaster Emma Woolf. One side issue to this, Emma, is apparently at midday today, what are we, a couple of hours away from that, Gaza will run out of power. So perhaps not enough is being said about this blockade. The Israelis were responsible for a lot of Gaza's water, their power, the basics of life. They've cut them all off, and they will not reinstate them. There's 2.3 million people in a 32-mile stretch of land. It is literally the most densely populated stretch of land in the entire world. Now, without power, water, food, I mean, it doesn't bear thinking about.
It doesn't. You were talking to Gareth there about the mood in Israel. And I was also thinking, Kevin, about the mood in Britain and why this has struck so deeply, why it's touched such a deep nerve, which is right, and as it should be, but with British people as well and around the world. I think that's very much to do with the links, traditional links. Many people have Jewish friends and family who have travelled out there. And you're talking about, that the Gaza being effectively cut off in that way. Well, yesterday, Israelis were told to stock up on food and supplies for up to 72 days. So I think there's a real sense for everybody that this is not going to be short and sharp, that this is going to, this is the looming ground, as you say, the imminent ground invasion, and that this conflict will worsen and deepen and go on for years. And it's the individual stories that have been coming out. This isn't just faceless soldiers. This isn't just some military conflict that no one understands. It's the individual nature of the stories. It's the grandmothers, it's the babies, the young children, the parents of those 10-month-old twins, the partygoers, The Middle East is disproportionately young, under 19.
Yeah, and we will be talking to one young man later in the show who's indicative of lots of people all over the world. The thing about Israel is that the people of Israel have relatives in America, Britain, all over the world. And they are personally experiencing this war. This guy we're going to talk to, he's seen his family destroyed over there in Israel. So President Biden said yesterday, this is personal. And for once in his life, he's right about this. The one thing he did say in his speech, Emma, was that Israel has every right to defend itself and to respond vigorously, but within the law. Now, I think that's going to be an interesting issue because Netanyahu and the people of Israel, they're not going to worry about niceties in terms of their response to what they suffered over the weekend. As I say, I think they're totally justified in doing this, but they are going to unleash all hell on Gaza. It is going to be horrific to behold. This is going to get worse and worse and worse.
It is, and there is no sense of winners and losers in this at this stage. I think everybody feels that it's going to be bloody on every side, and that the longer it goes on, it seems such an intractable problem, and it seems to have come literally out of a clear blue sky on Saturday morning. I mean, even the world's most powerful intelligence services seem to have no idea, and I think literally people waking up or going to bed on Friday night, waking up on Saturday morning, felt shock around the world.
We really were shocked. I mean, it came from nowhere. No one had any idea. Very unusual for Mossad and Israel not to have intelligence about what's going on in the Middle East. It's renowned as perhaps the greatest intelligence
This
service.
wasn't a minor attack.
But they didn't know anything about it. And the suggestion is that Netanyahu, Israel, the whole world have been lulled into a false sense of security, that things were getting better in the Middle East, that more and more Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, were prepared to negotiate some kind of coexistence with the Israeli state. And that's what Hamas didn't like. That's what Iran didn't like. So they have, I think, unfortunately, sadly, they have succeeded in their mission to destroy any chance of peace in the Middle East for a long time to come.
I think for decades to come. And I think we need President Biden well, among many international leaders, to be on his game, if he has a game. This is going to be a test for President Biden as well. You refer to his speech there. We can't have him bumbling and shambling his way through this. This is the stakes are too high.
Yeah, actually, his speech was okay.
It was okay.
But the subtext of this, America saying, Israel, you must do whatever you want, you know.
Within the...
Yeah, but then the key phrase was within the law. America behind the scenes will be telling Israel, you know, don't go over the top here.
Yeah,
By all means respond, but don't overdo it. I suspect that Netanyahu won't really listen to that.
No. And in his immediate reactions on Saturday and Sunday, the rage was very, very clear. The desire, which one completely can understand, for immediate vengeance, for immediate reprisal, is completely understandable, but also was palpable. Isn't, you know, he's not going to, he's not pulling any punches.
And to underline this, I mean, I keep explaining this, but you know, Hamas's mission, you know, with the backing of Iran, which funds Hamas to the tune of millions and millions of pounds. Their mission is to destroy the Israeli state, to deprive the Jewish people of having their own country. They want the utter annihilation. Of Israel. They know in their heart of hearts, I mean, they're not negotiable on that. No. There's no compromise. That Israel has to go as far as they're concerned. But they know in their heart of hearts that that can't happen. It won't happen. So their next best thing is a kind of situation of constant protest, constant conflict, and this is what they're going to do. This is the next best thing for them to getting rid of the Israeli state. It is inflicting horror on the Israeli state.
It's horror on a deeply personal level. You know, parading a young woman's body through the street, you know, spitting on dead people, beheading babies, as you refer to there. This is
slitting a grandmother's throat on Facebook.
Deeply personal. And, you know, Kevin, we're in the era of social media. Yes, this decade, you know, these conflicts have been bubbling underfoot for years, but now we see everything, we hear everything almost instantly. So I think the world is waking up to just what is really going on there.
Well, these Hamas people, they're terrorists. As I keep saying, terrorism's too good a term for them. They're too-bit rapist.
I'm glad you're brave enough to use it. Because...
Rapist.
Yeah.
Baby beheading thugs, that's all they are. They're not even worthy of the term terrorists. BBC's refusal to call them that is a national disgrace. They've really got to get their act together on this. I mean, do they support Hamas or something?
Which part of terrorism doesn't fit with the description of Hamas?
Yeah.
I mean, which...
John Simpson, I'm going to be addressing this later on, he said if they started calling Hamas terrorists, it would mean the BBC was taking sides. Well, go on then. Go on then. What's your point?
You're trying to Are you trying to be balanced on that issue then, BBC?
Exactly right. But as you quite rightly said, Emma, Netanyahu said this is going to be a long and difficult war. I think in the next few days we can expect the land forces to invade Gaza, and where it goes from there, I mean, God only knows. I mean, what do you think will happen in the months to come?
Well, more death, more destruction, but people are going to be, you know, trapped in their homes. People are going to be absolutely terrified. People are going to be starving and in desperate need of fuel and water and everything. So already the situation is dire and is only going to get worse.
Yeah, and what about that the reaction back here? You know, people raising Palestinian flags, you know, demonstrating in the streets, go Palestine, evil Israel.
David Lammy last night addressing the Friends of Palestine conference.
What is the matter with these people? I mean, now is not the time, is it?
Possible future Foreign Secretary.
Well, now it's not. To be fair, he has condemned the attacks, but being friends with Palestine right now, I think it's probably important to stress that I don't think Hamas represent most Palestinians.
No, and exactly. That's what I think.
You know, they are not representative of what ordinary Palestinian people think. We mustn't suggest that the Palestinians are a nation of people who go around beheading babies. Hamas, just like Daesh, as the BBC used to call them, ISIS, they're just childish, juvenile thugs who are desperately trying to make their mark. They're trying to get noticed, and these atrocities they committed were deliberately vile. They were deliberately provocative because they wanted to provoke Israel into a ferocious response, and then create the narrative, look, evil Israel is bullying us again.
The whole world is against us, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, of course, it's so important to stress that the majority of the Palestinian people are not in any way supporting or associated with these vile, terrible Hamas attacks.
And we've seen quite a few politicians, obviously of the left, saying, "Oh, well, you have to remember the backdrop to this. You know, it is years of horrific occupation and mistreatment by the Israelis." Well, okay, if that's what you want to contend, fine, that's your right to say that. But what we're talking about is a response to an invasion on Saturday morning in which babies were beheaded, grandmothers were raped, people were executed on their own doorstep. I mean, now is not the time to be speaking up for Palestine.
The problem is that the revenge on Hamas is going to affect,
everybody
in the region, and that's the problem. This is, it was already, it never was just a military conflict, and this is the problem. It's such a, as you say, it's such a densely populated area. But I think, I wonder whether these protests have been overexposed and over-publicised. There have been protests, yes, but I think the majority of people that you speak to are shocked and appalled and are not trying to defend Hamas in any way. We have seen lots on Twitter of people, marching and posters being put up on lampposts and people saying, Sadiq Khan, why don't you do something about this? But it isn't I live in central London. I haven't seen people protesting and condemning Israel.
Except they have been. I mean, they're outside the Israeli embassy down near
pockets, yes.
Pretty significant protests. But waving the flags as always, and they always say, "Well, it's Israel's fault." It isn't Israel's fault that they got invaded on Saturday. It really isn't. Israel has a right to defend itself. But I suspect, as we've been discussing, Emma, it's going to do a little bit more than defend itself. As Netanyahu said, Israel's response will change the Middle East forever. What do you think he actually means by this?
It's frightening to think what he actually means, but I think it's the natural response of the shock and the feeling of just your people being attacked in that way. Without any warning, without any preparation, without any attempt at negotiation or talking.
I think,
as you say, Hamas never wanted to talk. Hamas never.
Of course they don't.
They're not expecting negotiation. It's literally not in their vocabulary.
Of course they don't. I suspect and I fear that what Netanyahu means is almost literally he's going to raze Gaza to the ground. He's going to reduce that 30-mile strip of densely populated land to rubble.
And they can do that. And how many more thousands of lives will be lost?
It really is a shocking.
Always the innocent that suffer in war, always.
Indeed. So I think probably next up in the next couple of days we can expect this land invasion. I wonder what they will do once they cross the border. I mean, presumably set about trying to find...
destroying...
Well, I think their first job is going to be to try to find these hostages. But I think that's a forlorn attempt. We're being told they're being kept underground.
This is the very, very delicate part of it. Well, it's all delicate, but the fact that there are hostages, Israeli hostages, we know there are over 100 somewhere in there. Yeah. Not only does hostage, taking and hostage negotiation famously in the Middle East take years and years and years to ever resolve, if it's ever resolved. But people are hidden away. People are used as human pawns, and that's why, that's why they've taken these hostages.
Yeah, and there was this chilling threat by Hamas to execute one hostage for every air attack that Israel mounts without warning the Palestinians.
And be under no illusion, those executions will be filmed. The revolution will be televised. They will be filmed. They will be put on social media. People will see their grandmother or their baby being beheaded on. They'll use those hostage executions.
It doesn't bear thinking about. But so far, though, given that there have been hundreds of bombs raining down on Gaza, they don't seem to have performed any executions so far. But as you say, Emma, that is a very, very worrying prospect. In fact, everything there is a
and they get so much reaction, Kevin. Bullies want reactions.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing.
I should call them cowards. I should call them terrorist cowards. They want a reaction. And when they are able to get that much coverage for beheading one innocent person but parading a woman through the streets, that fuels, that fuels it all.
They're like vicious children.